All right, well, we're back, listeners, and we're so happy that you're joining us on the amazing 102.5 to talk about mental health and first responders. And today we're featuring the Houston Fire Department. We have again with us Dr. Tamara Holt. And Dr. Holt brought up some very interesting points that I want to review. She said many times in the department, our personnel, they're good at their jobs, but they're not so good at their lives.
Yes.
And I think you can say that about a lot of us, whether
Yes.
we're nurses or school teachers or bus drivers. We're very dedicated. Many times your career defines your identity.
Yes.
Right? And so we work to be excellent on our job.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we go home, we let it all hang out.
Yep.
You know, we take
Mm-hmm.
off everything that's tight and binding. We take it off. We take off our shoes. And sometimes we lay down our ability to navigate issues when those relationships are kind of touchy, right?
Absolutely.
I always tell my husband, I talk to you in a way that I don't talk to anybody else in the world, but that needs to emphasize the positive
Yes.
talk, not just the negative talk.
Absolutely.
Right? So you also touched on the culture of the department, that the power dynamic between the fire department personnel and maybe our civilians. There's some authority there, right? But they're people too. We're all people. And many of us even have someone in our family who's a firefighter or an EMS worker or a dispatcher. So we have to start beating down the shame and the stigma so that people can get help. I want you to share with us now, Dr. Holt, what do you think I'm sitting in my car, I'm eating my lunch, I'm listening to the amazing 102.5, and I'm hearing this story about how the department is now paying a lot of attention to making sure first responders are healthy. And I'm gonna tell you, that's a big deal. Tell me, how prevalent is a program like this in our state, in our country?
It's very rare. It's very rare, right? What I was mentioning earlier is that there are only 1 in 6 fire stations in the nation that have staff psychologists, right?
Wow.
This is, even though Houston has had staff psychologists for over a decade, there's still so much expanding, and there's still so much outreach that we still need to focus on, and we still need to do, because like I said, it's only 2 staff psychologists, myself and Dr. Leah Belches, and we have over 3,500 firefighters.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
And so when
it's only 2, and you got over 3,500.
Absolutely, right? And so, it is important that we start continue increasing the awareness of how mental health is impacting our first responders, and so that we can accelerate these programs, and that other states and other cities can continue to focus on the mental health of first responders, because vicarious trauma is very, very important to touch on. And vicarious trauma, for those listeners who are not aware, that is when you experience symptoms or distress from just witnessing or hearing about something that has been very traumatic, right? So you could be watching the news.
It's not your issue.
You have maybe not have personally experienced it, but just hearing about it or witnessing it, the body can also start responding to it in the same way as if you had experienced a trauma yourself. Vicarious trauma.
I can't watch, I'm a person, I can't watch scary movies. And the minute I feel that suspense and that tension, the music, dun dun, we got to turn off. And that's what it is. I am feeling I'm feeling something traumatic is about to happen.
Yes.
It may not be my circus, but it's somebody's. And the body feels it.
And the body also remembers. So a lot of times our body is trying to recognize the sensation and relate it to something we possibly have experienced before as well. And so it's a combination of things that are going on with the body and the brain. And so when we try to promote the mental health of first responders, one of the things that we're trying to explain to them is the level of vicarious trauma that they're experiencing.
They see it all the time.
Right? Because not only are they experiencing direct trauma, they're also experiencing vicarious trauma from just hearing or, witnessing stuff at such a rapid pace. Right. And so part of the things that we want the community to acknowledge is realize the importance of them also checking in with themselves and touching bases with themselves about things that they might notice when they're watching the news, or they might notice if, you're driving past and you see a bad car accident.
Right.
What's coming up for you? Like, what are you doing to care for yourself before it gets to the point where you call 911?
Let me ask you this. Could it be traumatic even for children and families at home worried about their loved ones who have high impact jobs where they could be facing dangerous issues? Does it ever trickle down to the family members?
It can, right? It can, especially if there isn't a good work-life balance and there are not enough protective factors, like social factors, and being able to have healthy things that you can do to decompress and get yourself back to a baseline. If you don't feel as supported as you need, if there aren't, measures put in place for those actual relationships to help you navigate when you're experiencing distress, then it definitely can trickle down. And so one of the things that we try to provide education with our first responders is that's when you will notice that something might just be off, right? You might notice that you normally are never arguing with your spouse. In the last couple of weeks, you started being really short
nothing's going right.
and nothing's going right. You might notice that, you normally have a workout routine that you do faithfully every day, and now you've started diminishing that, right? And you may not be the first to notice, but maybe a peer or a coworker maybe, which is why it's so important that we have that peer support and we start educating everyone about what it is to pay attention to, and even the people at home, right? You might notice, the stress impacting your loved ones and your family members much quicker than they realize it in themselves. So one of the things that we do want to do is not shame them, right? Because that increases. So you're saying during the
argument, it's not time to say, honey, you need to talk to the staff psychologist at your job.
Maybe not during the argument, right? Because that might not be they may not be as responsive to that, right? But leading with empathy and compassion, right? Because what we do know is that mental illness impacts everyone.
It does.
Right? And we all have mental health. Right, we all
whether on the positive side or the unwell side, we all have
mental health, right? And so sometimes it's just a slight shift in stress or a slight shift in life circumstances that will push you a little bit over to one way versus the other. And so what we try to do to challenge a lot of that stigma is normalizing it. Right.
You know what? You've just said a mouthful about it's not just medication and diagnosis, right? Mm-hmm. So I come from NAMI world, and we're always, encouraging people to go see a psychologist or a clinician who can diagnose and treat. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's just a protective factor, right? Mm-hmm. It's just taking off the gas of all the stress, putting on the brake, and doing some things that are protective. Can you give us a few of those protective factors? What would those look like?
Absolutely. I mean,
there's like try some.
There's such and I have a love-hate relationship with self-care, the term self-care, only because sometimes it has been glamorized and it may feel like it's not as attainable, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times people believe, I can't afford to take a vacation. I can't afford to take a spa day as my self-care. So I like to pull back and think about it from more of a grounding. What makes you feel most grounded in your body? Okay. And that might look like you just taking your shoes off and walking barefoot on your cement outside, in the grass, right? That might look like on lunch, if you can, just sitting outside. If you're working in an environment where it's, just in the office space, sometimes having that direct, relationship to the elements and the sunlight, it's communicating with your body that it's okay for you to be back at a baseline, right? And so sometimes we don't realize and notice that those small things are actually helping to regulate our nervous system.
Regulate your Listen, I have a brand new grandbaby. Look, brand new. She's 2 years old, brand new. I have a brand new grandbaby, and Mother's Day, can come with a lot of stress on its own because people expect things and blah, blah, blah. So she was sitting there, and I said, let's go for a walk. And we just walked around the community, and there was a motorcycle backfiring. And she thought that was the funniest thing. Every time it went pop, 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 she just started laughing. And in that moment, I just was 2 years old with her. I laughed at the motorcycle. I was exploring the world with her. We kept our shoes on, though, because we were walking on cement. But
what you were also doing was breaking generational trauma. because a lot of times when people hear backfires from a motorcycle, they associate it with gunfire.
Oh, and she's so new,
and
she
hasn't had that relationship yet. And so, but it could have been triggering for you, right? And so for you to be able to place yourself in her eye view, right, gives her an opportunity to just be 2 years old.
That's how I felt, 2 years old.
So that's
Happy
beautiful.
Mother's Day, right?
Yes.
But things that simple are what you're saying can be, you know, going fishing or just something that you normally do or don't normally do because of life stress that you could go back to.
That you can go back to.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, this is very wonderful. I want to touch on one more thing, and I want to, because we have so many community listeners today, I want to know, how can the community support the department? Right? What can we do that would support the mental health of the department, not in an intricate way the way you do, but what kind of cause and effect, community relationship with our department can we adopt? Some practical thing.
Absolutely. You know, we always want to hear from community members who have had experiences with our departments, right? Because it's important for the feedback is always important for the departments and the city councils to know, yes, I had a very intense crisis and I was responded to in a very, you know, in this amount of time. And the people that met me were kind and gentle or not, right? We want to hear both positive and feedback.
The good, the bad,
right? Because a lot of times on the news, we're only seeing the sensational stories, right? And so we're not necessarily getting the breadth of all of the beautiful work that is happening and how community members are receiving it. So we want to hear. All
right. So hear that, listeners. Talk to your city council members. Let them know your experiences with the fire department, with dispatch. I didn't know you could be placed on hold. That was new to me. And you don't want to learn that right when you need them.
No.
So, but the city council is there for us to kind of be a buffer between us and our city management. And I just want to give kudos to the city for making sure 1 in 6 stations in the country has a program that would include a Dr. Tamara Holt. And boy, are we grateful to have that in the Houston area. So let's keep that going and thank our city council and our mayor and everyone who makes that decision to keep the mental health support going. We're going to see you this Saturday. And so I want you to share with our audience a little bit about what the fire department is going to do this Saturday, I think for the first time.
Yes. We have had an amazing opportunity to be able to join with Namni, who's doing amazing work. And this Saturday, we will be joining you all at the 20th walk.
The 20th anniversary.
We are so excited about being there. The fire department will be there. We are going to be participating in just kind of the awareness. We'll have the fire truck out there. We will have an ice bucket challenge. I will be doing awareness about mental health. And so we're just really excited to support and, you know, and be a face of what is going on in our community.
Well, wonderful. We look forward to seeing you there. And if anyone wants to join, the walk is absolutely free. There's no cost. We'll have food, drink, dancing. More importantly, though, we will galvanize as a community to say mental health matters. So this is a free mental health advocacy walk. It will take place downtown Houston at Sam Houston Park, and we're going to walk down Allen Parkway. So listen, if you drive down Allen Parkway on Saturday mornings, you might want to take another route because we're going to be there walking. So please bring your family and let's have a great time together. Thank you again, Dr. Holt, for this information. I really felt like I could have just listened to you go on and on about things we can do for protective factors. So we might invite you back to give us some more information about that. But again, thank you, listening audience. And if you want more information about what you can do to bring these protective factors or even psychoeducation and support to your community, do not hesitate to call NAMI Greater Houston at 713-970-4419. And if you want to join the walk, that's namiwalks.org/Greater Houston. It's a free walk. Come and join us. You can register at the park. You don't even have to do it in advance. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.